Agencyclick presents Everything Film with Film Robot, broadcasting on BNN Bloomberg 1410 AM, also 103.5 FM HD3, and you can go to Agencyclick through Spotify and listen to previous episodes of the program. I'm Joe Leary, along with Patrick Shelton from Agencyclick and Film Robot, broadcasting actually from the offices of Film Robot downtown. So Agencyclick is where the casting folks go to find people from all over for whatever, and it really is an industry leader.
Oh, absolutely. There's 19,000 performers. I counted today. And when I say 19,000 performers, people think that's a bit, but that's working people right now. So if you realize that, like, say there's 2021 productions going on in Vancouver, there's 19,000 people working. And I mean, this is pretty much a fact. They're not, taking a vacation for 2 months or, if you're in that database, you're working. So I still think that's a huge number.
It's a massive
Vancouver.
number. It's a massive number.
Yeah.
And a great accomplishment. And we brought an alumni of Agencyclick to the program today. His name is Raj Lal. And this is home territory for you.
It is, yes. I've been Vancouver-based for my entire career. So it's great to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Also.
It's great to have you.
It's a pleasure to meet you guys. And yes, I've been part of Agencyclick for a little over, I think, 8 to 10 years now.
Okay.
Oh.
And what a great platform. You can update your pictures. You can create an entire profile, and that's what your agent's going to work with. And they'll submit your entire platform to casting directors, and you can just sort of hop onto different shows and go about from there.
And hopped onto different shows you have done. I was looking at your resume. It's pretty extensive and incorporates both film and television, commercials. Go back in time, Raj. When did you decide, dang, this is something I want to do?
Well, it's been a while. Yeah, I've been chasing. I most often my friends hear this term of me saying I'm sort of chasing my childhood dream. And when I was a little boy, I absolutely loved music, and I loved theater, and I loved performing. And it sort of started in elementary school. I was probably grade 3, grade 4 when I first met my very first drama teacher, Leslie, and she was incredible. I still talk to her too, which was incredible, and I know her family really well. And then as you sort of progress through the drama productions in elementary school, and then you get into high school and you start studying a little bit more theater, there was always this want to try to do a little bit more. There was always this sort of this itch in the back of my mind. And it's sort of, what's funny is it sort of started with a show that I was watching on in high school. And I'm sure you guys have heard of Smallville. Mm-hmm. And everyone's got this one show that they absolutely loved when they were growing up. And for me, it was Smallville. I just loved the story of Superman. I loved the story of everyone on that show. And through the grapevine, I heard that show was filming in Vancouver. And I was probably in grade 11, grade 12 at that time when that show probably first started. Mm-hmm. And I said, I want to do that. I want to be that guy. And so I started taking it a little bit more seriously, and I started training, and then we sort of progressed to where we are here today, Everyone's got goals and dreams, and you start chipping away at it, you start training, and you start meeting new people, you start working with different people, and then here we are, Fast forward, I think I'm past 15 years. I don't really know how long it's been now, but here we are.
The fact of the matter is, it's one of those industries that there's an attention factor, an attraction factor I certainly get, but there's a number of steps you have to take in order to get to where you want to be. It's no different than watching a hockey game as a kid. Well, in order to even possibly play that game, you got to learn how to skate, and you got to sort of work your way up through the ranks. Was your progress, was it rapid? Was it slow and methodical? Was it deliberate? Or was it, I'm just going to take anything I can get until I land something that really matters to me?
Well, this is a fantastic question. For some people in this industry, it can happen very quickly. You could be a childhood star. You could be a reoccurring dad on a television series. You could be like who's that girl? The Canadian Tire rep, or someone from A&W. You could be that person where you're signed on to 10 years of work from one audition and you don't even realize it. But the reality of it is that doesn't generally happen quite often, right? For myself, it was a lot of little steps, a lot of baby steps, right? So for my career, I started in commercials, commercial film, television, theater. I had a big theater background when I first started. And progressively, you have these little baby steps, and as you start taking these little steps up the ladder, more doors start opening, so to speak. It sounds kind of cliche, but for me, I started with these sort of smaller SOC roles. I started becoming a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera, started to become more comfortable with people. And then slowly, and I was like, I think I can do this, and then you start doing the smaller actor roles, and you start stepping up into, the larger principals and the supports, and hopefully get into the leads, someday. That's a great goal. But that's generally the progression for some of the talent in Vancouver, and it's a great place. There's a tremendous amount of talent here, right? So that was sort of my story.
There was a documentary about You're That Guy in That Thing. Did you ever happen to see that? Did you
No,
ever see that?
I have seen that. I have seen that.
What it's about, it's about people that always are just showing up in shows, right? And I'm sure you've seen some on set and you go, oh, I know that person.
Yes.
But you don't know their name?
Exactly.
So it's like one stage of actor. Like I'm on all the time.
Sure.
And they literally said that they were approached in the street, Joe. Oh, you're that guy in that thing, but they didn't know who they are. So they're just called that guy.
Yeah.
I've been in 10 episodes of this and 5 episodes of that.
You're Brandon and Skip the Dishes. You're that guy.
You're that guy in that thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's successful.
Do you, how have you progressed through the years then? Because again, I think it's a business where really the more people you get to know, the more people get to know you and realize that, he's easy to work with, or he's a little bit difficult, or whatever. Sure. That only builds your brand.
Absolutely. The professionalism is really important in this industry. I try to be as professional and be as early and be as punctual as you possibly can, and really put in that effort, whether it's from the audition room, or whether it's doing background on a film set, whether you're doing, from the many different departments on set, whether you're a performer, doesn't matter. Professionalism is very high in my books. Sorry, I sort of lost my train of thought there.
No, I was just saying that it's one of those businesses where the more people the more people that can benefit from, your relationship. It's a relationship business, clearly. And relationships can either be wonderful or they could be horrible.
Sure.
So obviously it's important. I mean, the one thing I learned, I did TV weather for a number of years, and the one thing I learned was always be good to the crew. Because if you're not nice to the crew, they're the ones that control the shot or whatever.
Sure.
They may not be nice to you. And again, I'm a nice guy, I think, but it really behooves you to make sure that, you treat everybody equally and everybody with respect.
Absolutely. It makes for an easier day, whether you're on set or whatever department you're in, whether you're going into casting directors or whether you're going on set. You really need to be polite and treat people the way you want to be treated. It doesn't really have... You don't really have a spot for egos or that sort of behavior, because they'll treat you really well.
We're talking with Raj Lal. This is Everything Film on BNN Bloomberg 1410, also 103 FM HD3. 103.5 FM HD3. You mentioned you're that guy from that thing. So your resume has a lot of those kind of roles there. So tell us some of the things that you've done that somebody might go, oh, no, I know that guy from that thing.
Wow. It's been a long time. There's a few substantial credits in there that really mean a lot to me, and some people may have recognized me from. I mean, we were just talking with your previous guest here about Flash. I was on season 2, season 3, and season 4 of Flash as 3 different characters, which is sort of unheard of. I've played a scientist on season 2. I've played a person getting choked out for a stunt sequence in season 3, and I've played the damsel in distress falling from a building in a vehicle in season 4. People may have seen me screaming my lungs out on that one on Kevin Smith's episode, which was a great pleasure to work with Kevin Smith again. But most recognizable, I think a lot of people may have seen me in the post-apocalyptic film 2012 with director Roland Emmerich, and I played the Indian scientist in that film, where I was a geological scientist. That one really meant a lot to me, to be able to play in what is, I think, today the largest budgeted, held the title for the largest budgeted feature film in Canadian history. at $300 million. And it was, and I'm pretty sure it is still today, the highest grossing natural disaster film of all time. I just love those kinds of movies. You don't really go there for the story, but you see everything blown up. But yeah, 2012 was a substantial one.
Were you like Kill Victim 3 or like when did you die?
I die in the tsunami towards the end when everyone's loading the ark.
Okay, so you lasted for a while.
Yes, and then my brother, who's Jimmy Mystery, fantastic guy. He calls Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is obviously a great actor. He's Oscar nominated to be able to work with A-list actors like he was in 10 Years a Slave. He's been a tremendous amount of talent, and to be able to do scenes with him was a great pleasure. But yeah, so Jimmy phones Chiwetel in the movie and says, we didn't get picked up, and then we get drowned in a massive tsunami when the ark is getting loaded, and that's usually where everyone sees me crying and praying towards the tail end of it. Funny story about that one. I asked Roland if for the death sequence I could just die with my hands going up like this into water with a thumb to pay homage to Terminator. And he said, I don't think my friend was that Spielberg? Yeah.
James Cameron.
James Cameron. He said, I don't think my friend James Cameron would appreciate that. So we couldn't die that way, but we did die.
Now, Raj, in looking at your resume, I noticed that, and again, I guess this is how any actor needs to have their resume laid out. It shows your skills and all that, dialects and things that you have. How much has that played into some of the characters that, or some of the roles that you've been enlisted for?
A tremendous amount. I am an ethnic actor and an ethnic performer here in Vancouver. A significant amount of my work is typecast, right? And that's okay. In the first little bit, it was a little frustrating. And then as I grew as a performer, I understood that this is my line of work. It's something to embrace. It's not something to run away from. And some performers choose not to do it, and some performers do. And for each performer, it's your story to your own career. I feel that as a storyteller, it's a story to be told. And I feel empowered by doing it. With that being said, with my resume, there is dialects that I can speak. I speak Hindi, I speak Punjabi. I've done roles in Pushtu, which is a dialect that I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about, and that's Pushtu is the language of the people in Afghanistan, and the language that most Taliban terrorists would speak. And I've done roles in these kinds of films where I work with a dialect coach, and I've worked with people from Afghanistan to really absorb the material and to make sure that I'm doing this properly so that I can represent the culture and the performance properly to the best of my ability. So yes, a significant amount of my work, I do play, these Taliban roles, the darker kind of characters. I've played different languages. I've played different types of characters in that retrospect.
There's been a lot of attention focused on that, of people playing out of type. I mean, and again, you mentioned the word typecast, because I think generally that's kind of a bad term in the industry. And I'm going back to the days of Gilligan.
Sure.
Gilligan got typecast because he was Gilligan from Gilligan's Island.
That's right.
But you have to, I guess, again, the work is out there. You embrace it because there are roles for all types of people. And, you would rather have someone authentic playing to your heritage rather than somebody being disguised and trying to play to your heritage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You want, if for example, I've played a nurse, I've played a doctor, I've played a scientist. Let's go back to the medical field. If I've played a doctor or a nurse or OBGYN, or whoever I'm playing, and I have done these roles, there's generally a medical correspondent on set to make sure that I'm doing things properly. And even before we get into rehearsals, before we get into the performance, I try to address, take a moment with these people to say, look, I would like for you to be as hard as you can possibly be on me. This is nothing personal. This is me as a storyteller, I want to tell the story properly. I don't want to have a hole in it. I want to, so if there's someone at home watching this, let's say for a Good Doctor, if they're watching this series and they're saying, I don't know if they're doing this right. And I know for a fact that everyone on Good Doctor, they're a great crew, great cast, and they know what they're doing is the right way that they would do it in a hospital. You want to make sure that your performance is on point, right? And so that's sort of, you respect the role when you take it to another level. it's a great deal of importance to me, you know.
Is there much Bollywood work done in Vancouver?
There was. Recently, I decided to sort of distance myself from it. Sure. It wasn't a path that I wanted to go towards. It was a few years ago, and I was having some success with it. But with the way that our agreement works here in Vancouver with UBCP, or Union of British Columbia Performers, and the way that our protection and our rights are, it's important to myself, not just for myself, but for other people that are going to be following after me, that I'm trying to pave the way for the future, right, for people of color in our industry. And if I can bring change, then I'm going to bring it the way that I can try to do it. And the way that I can say it best is the reason why I distanced myself from Bollywood was because there's certain rules and regulations and protections that a performer here in BC would be given. You know, and in other parts of the world, they don't have an agreement to protect the performers, right? And knowledge is power. I don't really know a whole lot of that industry, so I'm not just going to throw them under the bus. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I sit down and I'll watch it daily with my mom. She loves it. I think it's beautiful, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we're taking work that is safe for everyone, right? And so if I feel unsafe, I'm not going to take that work, right?
What would you say is the dream role? What role awaits you that you haven't had a sniff at yet, but you're sticking around until I get a call?
Well, if we have the casting directors in Vancouver, BC, or anywhere around the world listening to this, the childhood dream would be a recurring lead on a television series or a lead in a feature film. That's always been a goal since I started. I understand that it takes years of work and dedication to be able to, be in front of a client and represent an industry or a television series or a story like that. But I feel like that would be an incredible dream, you know. So everyone shoots for the lead, and a lead would be a fantastic spot. But from my experience, I think a supporting lead is also a fantastic story to be told also. So anything in and along those lines, a supporting lead or recurring lead in a television series. I'm also an advocate for diversity, inclusion, and equal opportunity for all races, and regardless of what your skin color is. And I think that the world is starting to open their eyes on this subject matter, that, you know, a person like myself with an Indian name doesn't need to be a taxi cab driver. I don't need to be a nurse. I don't need to be a terrorist anymore. I am much more than that, you know. And as more conversations we have about diversity and inclusion and equal opportunity in this industry, I think we're starting to see, especially on the breakdowns, I'm starting to see when these auditions are coming in, a lot of the casting directors are saying, you know, please, to the agents are saying, please submit, regardless of what we're looking for, even if it says, if the breakdown does say, you know, Caucasian male, regardless of race or ethnicity, if you feel your talent fits the demographic of what we're looking for to tell a story, now suddenly I can read for a Caucasian lead. I can read for supporting, reoccurring on another.
I actually commend you for bringing that, because a lot of our listeners have probably thought about that, and I've come to the conclusion myself is that it's not so much about diversity in my mind as an inclusion, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, they're used like interhandedly, but I mean, inclusion is like you're included, right? Like you're part of, you know, it doesn't matter, right? So it's different about being, because diversity kind of reminds me of being different, right? Like, we want something different, but doesn't matter. Like, to be included.
To be inclusive.
Sort included, of, right? So and I think that's a message.
Just be in the conversation, as we all should.
Absolutely.
Raj Lal, it's been a pleasure. How can people find you on social media?
I'm very active on Instagram. Okay. I've got a significant following on there. If anybody looks up actor Raj Lal, I'll be probably the first person out there. If anybody's got any questions, comments, or anyone looking for any help on their career, or if anyone's got any questions on how to get started or anything, I've always said, if I can't push through, then I'm going to try to make myself available to help the next generation push through, just like my mentors have helped me with my career. So if anybody needs anything, reach out to me on Instagram. Very active. Send me a message. I love you all.
Yeah.
You're a good man. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, brother.
Cheers.